Having introduced the caged forms of the major pentatonic, link below if you haven't watched it, how do we make music using it? You may be finding yourself simply playing the scale up and down and wondering why you don't sound like any of your favorite guitarists. Now that we have a scale to solo with, we need to discuss how best to use it. This video will discuss what I believe to be one of the most neglected aspects in people's playing. Before we get started, hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss upcoming videos. And give this video a like. Even if you hate it, consider it an act of protest against the algorithm. Very often guitar players are preoccupied by pitch. And this preoccupation unfortunately takes our attention away from the many other nuances of our playing. There's an abundance of information on the internet which reinforces a misconception that what will improve your playing is new scales, and different scales, and more complex scales, esoteric scales. And of course it's true that there are many scales that are worth studying and that we will explore extensively, but their absence is probably not why you're bored with your playing. Furthermore, learning new scales will do little to improve your playing if your playing is just generally not very musical. Different pitches or more pitches equals better music is like saying more words or different words will equal better language. It's just not necessarily true. Words are meaningless without context and nuance, as are pitches. One such nuance is represented in space and punctuation. Consider the funny example, "Let's eat, Grandma," and "Let's eat, Grandma." Grandma needs that comma, and so does your guitar playing. So after putting in all that effort to learn the scale, we now need to learn how to use space to achieve better musical phrasing. I suspect that guitar players and keyboard players run into this issue much more often than, say, a horn player. A horn player is forced to have some kind of punctuation when they take a breath, whereas a guitar player is able to ramble unrelentingly, breathing all the while. Feel free to comment below with any opinions or experiences with this. As an introductory exercise in forcing yourself to take a breath, let's learn how to take a big breath over a 12-bar blues. A 12-bar blues is very commonly a sort of call and response between a 2-bar lyrical phrase and a 2-bar instrumental fill. Here's an example. An album I've always thought was underappreciated, Eric Clapton's From the Cradle. Here's a snippet of his cover of the Freddie King blues, Tore Down.
I'm tore down, I'm almost level with the ground. I'm tore down, I'm almost level with the ground. Why not feel like this when the baby came down?
In this case, we have a 2-bar lyrical phrase followed by a 2-bar guitar fill, and continuing to trade bars of 2. It's a nice conversation between two different voices, contrasting voices. And both voices continue to be interesting because of that contrast in tone, but also in that they're breaking each other up. Those breaks are practical. They give the listener a chance to process what's been said and to anticipate what might be next, and it gives the speaker the opportunity to consider what they're going to say next, and perhaps refine it before it's presented. Now, tempo-wise, that might be a little quick and maybe busy to play along with, so you can use a slower, simpler rhythm track, I've got links below, to practice organizing your playing a bit more deliberately. This is also a great exercise in listening and counting. Practice playing on every other 2 bars. You can play just on the fills, then practice playing just where that lyrical phrase would be. So this is a good start to being more disciplined with our playing, but when we talk about space, we mean more than something as structured and specific as a 2-bar call and response. Consider this sentence.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
By focusing only on the words and ignoring this other characteristic of the language, the meaning has become obscured. These little breaks between phrases are essential to our ability to easily understand what is being conveyed. And it's a bit counterintuitive as we try to improve as players. My instincts tell me that I need to do more to create more interesting solos. But it's often the case that you'll be better served by adding space and clarifying your phrasing than adding in that Phrygian dominant scale. Fun scale, but if you're unable to phrase while using it, it's become another red herring. Start to listen for the space in guitar solos, or any solos. You'll probably be surprised how much you'll find, even in a lot of choppy players. Here's the solo from that same Eric Clapton track. Listen to where the breaths are. Who phrases better than Clapton? Really? Who? Feel free to answer in the comments below. This is one of the characteristics of great players, maybe described as making the guitar sing, which starts to seem like more than just an analogy. The guitar is emulating this fundamental characteristic of language.